So where are you from and how did you get into politics?
I mainly grew up in Dunedin. I was actually born in Palmerston North. My family moved around a bit. But I basically grew up in Dunedin and I came to Wellington about 15 years ago. My main first introduction to politics was at university, and I was heavily involved in the student association at Otago University, and then I was the vice president and co-president of the New Zealand University Students Association here. So that was kind of my introduction into that, and my first year at university was the first year of big upfront fees being charged. So kind of my whole time at university was dominated by the costs of education. And I also was working part-time in a supermarket when the Employment Contracts Act came in 1991, and watched all of our conditions and our overtime and so on lost, and so that kind of had quite a big effect on my political views as well.
Great. How did you get into this particular job? Were you shoulder tapped or?
I've been involved in the Wellington Central Labour Party for about 10 years, or 10 or 12 years, and so I'd sort of been around the place and it had a lot to do with Marion Hobbs's campaigns in Wellington Central, so I was there or thereabouts. Marion did ask me if I put my name forward for the seat, for the Labour nomination for the seat, and I got that nomination and then ran a good hard campaign last year and managed to be elected.
Great, thank you. What is your view on the decision taken by the government in relation to the smacking referendum in terms of what it says about New Zealand democracy?
Oh, look, I think the decision the government's taken is the right one. It was a very unfortunately worded referendum question. I don't think it told us very much about the law as we currently have it. I was a supporter of the repeal of Section 59, and I still am. I support the compromise that was come to last year, 2 years ago, to make the law work. I think the law is working, but we've got a review coming up soon, and I think it's important we wait and see how that review goes. What the New Zealand public obviously did was express their views, and I think there are a variety of opinions within those views. There are some people for whom they genuinely feel that they've had some right taken away from them. There are others who felt perhaps they were being judged for the kinds of parents they were. So I respect that, and I understand that people held those views. But I don't think, in terms of the law, the result of the referendum was particularly useful.
What is your view on the merits of MMP and FPP? Should there be another referendum on the subject? I'm personally a supporter of MMP. I think what it's done is it's made sure that we've got a much more representative parliament. There's a lot more diversity within the parliament, a lot more Māori represented, more women. I think that's great, and I think that needs to be encouraged. And I don't think you get that with first past the post, where you're having to choose one person for each electorate. I also think that MMP had the effect of slowing down the pace of government, and in the 1980s and early 1990s I think there was a feeling that the government was being run by cabinet. Political parties weren't necessarily putting forward in their manifesto what they were actually going to do, and I think people felt that there needed to be more checks on government. One of the things that's happened with MMP is we've had minority governments all the way through. And that means that parties like National or Labour want to get things through. They have to work with the minor parties. And on balance, I think that's a good thing. Where there are problems are where the minor parties start to exert more influence than their actual proportion. And that's what people call the tail wagging the dog. And we've just had that recently with Rodney Hyde and the Māori seats on the Auckland Council. So I do recognise that there's a balance there, but overall, I think we've got a more representative parliament and a system of government that takes more account of a wide range of views now. Returning to FPP, I don't think is actually, personally I don't actually think that's really where New Zealanders are at. But it's not to say MMP is perfect, and I'm sure there are some things that we could do to improve how MMP operates. So you don't think there should be a referendum for, say, like ST,
Yeah, well, the bottom line is we're going to have a referendum.
Okay.
I mean, National committed themselves to that at the last election, and we're now seeing them do it. So if there is going to be a referendum, we need to make sure that it's one held with all the information out there. Personally, I don't think it's necessary, but that's where we are now.
And with the citizen
citizen-initiated referendums, do you think they should be legally binding?
I don't. The reason that I don't think that they should be legally binding is that the exercise of government, you can't take issues one at a time. You're always having to balance issues together. And I think that the risk in citizens-initiated referendum is you can put out one particular topic and people can say, yes, that's a really good idea, but they're not voting on it in the broader context of what government needs to do. So it might be a referendum that binds the government to pay all journalists $1 million a year. That might sound great, and journalists might campaign and get that to happen, but that would be money that couldn't be spent elsewhere. So I think it's important to have the ability for citizens to initiate referendum. I think we need to do some work on the questions, as I said before about the Section 59 related one. But I think that they're there to serve as a guide for the public, for the government, around where the public might be at on a given issue. But we have a system called representative democracy, and every 3 years people have the opportunity to have their say on that. I think that provides a good system of government, and so long as people continue to listen to the public, I don't see the need for the referendums to be binding.
Can you name a dream team of 7 MPs who you think exemplify how an MP should conduct themselves? Your list of 7 can only include 3 from your own party.
Oh, now that is hard. I'm not sure if I can. Maybe what I can say is that in the sort of 19 months I've been here, I've seen really good MPs from right across the House. So, I look at MPs on the national side of the House. I look at someone like Simon Power, who's obviously a very intelligent, capable person who's very articulate. In Parliament, I sit next to Hekia Parata, one of the new national MPs, and we have a lot of conversations sitting there, and she's somebody who I certainly admire. I looked at the Green Party, and they all work just tremendously hard. And I've always had a lot of admiration for Sue Bradford. I haven't always agreed with Sue on every single thing she's done, but I think she's a very principled person, and I think most of the Green Party people in that regard are. And I couldn't choose among my own colleagues of who would be in my dream team, but I think one of the great things about the Labour team in Parliament at the moment is the balance between the new people and more experienced people. And there's so much for people like me to learn off Phil Goff and Annette King and Trevor Mallard and people like that. They are experienced hands who know this place inside out, and so we learn a lot from them. So I probably named at least 7 people in that little burst.
Okay. What are the 3 things you're most passionate about career-wise?
Oh, look, I think I'm basically here in order to create a fairer New Zealand. That's what drove me to go into politics, is to see New Zealand be a truly fair society where we rid ourselves of the excessive inequality. So that's, I'm here basically, and what drives me is to ensure that everybody gets the chance to achieve their potential, no matter where they come from or who they are. I'm extremely passionate about that. The keys to making that happen, in my mind, are in terms of education and ensuring that everybody gets access to quality education and training throughout their lives. And to me, that's the bedrock of a prosperous society, is to do that. But I also am passionate about other things. I'm passionate about having a strong health system. And I guess the issue that's kind of sits in my mind a lot these days is how do we integrate environment and economic objectives together? Because for me, a country like New Zealand, our future is going to be built around ensuring that we have a sustainable economy, one that's actually built off our natural advantages, but also seeks to protect and enhance the environment while we leverage off it. So I think that's one of the biggest challenges facing my generation of politicians, is how to put those things together. And I'm passionate about New Zealand and about the kind of future we can have if we continue to work through the issues of the past in terms of how Māori were treated, and developing Māori into the future, and recognising the different other cultures that are in New Zealand now. So yeah, lots to do. I'm passionate about lots of things.
Right, toughest question. What's your favourite colour?
See, I wear a lot of black because it's a slimming colour apart from anything else. But I have to say red, don't I?
Fantastic. Okay, thank you very much for that. That's all done.